Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. Look who's with me. The cult known as the Joni family. My favorite cult in the world. I have friends on this podcast that were at her Hollywood Bowl shows, and we're going to talk about it in depth tonight. So some of us were there. So was everybody here except for me and David? Jack, you were there, right? No, you weren't there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the middle row.
Yeah. We sat together the second night too.
Dave, Robin, and Sue were all there. You guys sat together?
Yeah. It's
well, we traded. Dave and I had separate. We had separate checks. So the first half I sat with Sue, and then Dave and I changed, and then he sat with Sue.
And we were sitting next to Elijah Wood of
Get out!
Yeah, it was great. He was a cool guy. He was talking to us and stuff.
Yeah. I really like his work.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a couple movies. He's really cool.
Yeah, there were a lot of celebrities there.
Yeah, I bet.
So Dave and
So
Rob,
you were in the celebrity seats, Sue?
Well, they were pretty good seats, but not, right in front.
Uh-huh.
They were called the terrace. That's where the waiters come,
Oh. All right, so it's time to ask the real philosophical questions. Was Elijah Wood sexy in person? Because I need to know.
No, I mean, he was adorable. He was like, he was, he kind of looked the same, to tell you the truth, But he had a beautiful wife, and he was talking to Lauren and Ken about his kids, It was kind of cool. And they were real Joni fans, too. That was the other thing,
Well, everybody there was a Joni fan.
Oh.
17,500.
Wow.
Yeah, great.
Well, Jahida, welcome to the podcast. We just hit record, so we just started. We haven't even gone to the concert yet, but Jahida, welcome. So before we go into the concert, just like the last podcast, you guys want to talk a little bit about the lead up? Like, a year had gone by from the Gorge. I think everyone was wondering, like, we started calling it, like, is it going to be more of the campfire sing-alongs? What's Joni going to bring to the Gorge? She did 2 nights. We all wondered if there going to be different set lists. Brandy went on TV and gave us the tea and kind of forewarned that it was going to be deep cuts and songs she didn't know before. So those who were there, how did you feel walking into this venue, approaching the show as a member of the Joni Mitchell cult?
Should I go first?
Go ahead, Sue.
Okay. So we all came in force, like there were a lot of us there. And we stayed at the Andaz Hotel, which has the Riot House of, Almost Famous, and we had a Joni tribute concert at the Andaz in the Riot House the night before. So we were already, jazzed up, and we got a big van, and all of us went to the Hollywood Bowl. Our dear friend Enid came with us, and she was busking outside the merch table.
Did she bring the dulcimer?
Yeah, and as we were walking by, there she was playing California, it was really cool.
I just remember the last trip we stopped. That was like the best Subway I ever ate at when we pulled that van in. Okay, so you see Enid, you guys are walking into the venue.
Yeah, and then, we got to our seats, and I was sitting with Paz and Les, my 2 buddies, and Laura Stanley was sitting with us, and Lauren and Ken, were there too, from Rochester. And, it was just really good seats. They had the big, video or movie screens on each side, so you could see them close up too. And, the first night both nights, it was gorgeous out too. It was really sweet. There was a lot of people who would walk by, and we would recognize them from some other thing, like, random stuff, This one lady came up to me and said, "Oh my God, you're Sue Tierney." I can't get used to people doing that at all, She goes, "I've been using your tabs for like 18 years. I was like,
Aw.
get the hell out of here. That's wonderful. She was really sweet. She was at the Riot House too, so I need to get your email. I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, getting there was really nice, and we were all really psyched. I don't know if you want to. Well, we can start talking about the music in a little while, but
Yeah. What about you, Dave and Robin? What was your lead up? You missed the gorge, so
Well, we didn't go to the gorge, and we went to the Sunday show uh, of the bowl.
The
But
second night.
we weren't really interested in going at all until we found out about the deep tracks and that it was going to be all Joni singing without lots of guest singers. And then once we found out that it was going to be a long concert with deep tracks, and we realized we had to go. So there were a couple of Jahida had an extra seat, and who was the other?
Jody.
Jody had an extra seat, so we were able to buy 2 tickets at the last minute.
that's great.
And it was just
So we drove up from San
spectacular.
Diego for the picnic beforehand on the Sunday afternoon, where we met in the picnic ground of the bowl, and yeah, so it was fun to see everybody. And
It was the same place, Jack, that
Oh, where you guys played for the?
yeah.
Joni
It was
Jazz.
it was the
Joni
same
Jazz.
park there.
Did you play again or no?
Yeah, we played a little
We
bit.
didn't take instruments, but there were a couple of guitars there, and
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, that was a great place last time.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the issues was parking, because it was all sold out right where we had parked, when you were there. So we parked at this mall area.
a mile away.
Yeah, but that was fine. And we just walked to it. But it was pretty fabulous, really.
I just the nights that y'all were there, I was at home on my computer just hitting refresh that's the set list, whatever the set list FM or whatever the website is. But just people were live posting the set list as she was playing the songs. So every song that got added to that set list, like my fucking jaw hit the floor. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me that I'm not
Oh,
sitting there right now?
It was a great selection.
It was
Well,
amazing.
Sue, so how would you compare the two nights?
Well, I can't really compare them mostly about the song. I mean, the way that it was presented was basically the same. I can't remember if she mixed up the set list at all, but I'm telling you, my emotions the first night were just, I mean, I started hysterically weeping when she started playing Hejira. It was just so emotional for me. I was just like, I was bawling, and so that kind of energy that I had all the first night, I did have on the second night too, but I had already heard some of the songs, so it was more of a joyous thing than just like a complete mind blow, I mean, one song after the other. I mean, all these incredibly deep, meaningful songs, I mean,
Having the stamina to do it.
yeah,
Sing
she was
that.
doing great. She was singing great. She was there laughing and telling stories and stuff. I mean, and she was right there. I mean, you could feel her presence basically. It was really great.
Maybe we
She
should
didn't
point
play
out-
anything this time, right?
No, she did not play guitar. Yeah, that was sad.
Maybe we should point out that she did two 90-minute sets.
Yeah,
There was an intermission, but it was 3 hours of music.
26 songs.
And the only song she didn't sing was "Ladies of the Canyon," which Annie Lennox did.
Right.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Joni sang like 25 tunes.
And the only difference
She
between the
started
set
with-
list,
She began with "Be Cool," which is,
imagine.
first of all, kind of telegraphs that she's a jazz artist.
yeah.
And later on did more stuff from Mingus. God Must Be a Boogeyman, and
What stood out, one of the things that stood out for me was, yes, her voice is changed, and she is not, she would admit is not her greatest voice right now, but she still sold the songs. I mean, these incredible songs, these lyrics, these compositions, there was just no denying that that she is this great artist. I mean, isn't this great? You know, she just that was very moving that you could. So I would think that maybe even people that weren't as steeped in her music as all of us, you know, would think it was incredible.
Oh yeah.
And really enthusiastic crowd. Every song a standing ovation.
Wow.
After every song.
Oh yeah. People were out of their minds. Yeah.
So the only difference between the two set lists is she dropped Hajira on the second night, right?
Oh, yeah.
But everything else was the same?
Well, I have to look at the second set. I was going to pull both of them up.
I'm pretty sure they were the same just from watching it live as it happened. But what being that audience, what did you as each song started? Now, before I go, Dave and Robin, did you guys look at the set list? Did you know what to expect, or did you walk in to be surprised?
We saw it before, from the day before, what she had done. We didn't know if she was going to do the same thing.
Sure.
And I guess it was pretty close. But I didn't print it out or anything. I didn't remember it. It was just it just looked like a great bunch of selections.
Yeah.
And she got to do, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but she got to do tunes that she's never performed before, like Sire of Sorrow.
I know, wasn't that amazing?
She never did that because she never had backup singers. And that requires backup singers.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it was a fabulous band. I mean, just very supportive. And
Jacob Collier on
oh my God, yeah.
But all the band, apart from Mark Isham, were, I would say, under 30.
And Wendy and Lisa were there, weren't they?
Yeah. So, but basically, she was using young musicians. The drummer was a student of Brian Blades, which is a brilliant idea because, first of all, they're available. Like if you use Herbie Hancock and, you know, he's on tour somewhere. But they rehearsed for 6 months for this show, these two shows, and you can't do that with people who are always on tour.
Right.
So she had these young musicians that were, this was the thrill of their life to be on that stage. So they had done all the work, and they were excellent, excellent players. She had, what was Lucius on backup vocals. She had a couple of string players, sister strings. She had 3 guitarists, 2 keyboard players, bass and drums, plus, you know, Brandy adding in extra vocals. It was really a large band, and that made this, that partly sold the music as well, because Joni didn't have to carry everything with her voice. There was just a really big sound going on, and you know, for the most part, the guitar players had, you know, had done a good job with not just playing the right tunings and stuff, but they were trying to get the right sounds so that the sounds were kind of like the record. And that's something I pay attention to, because it matters to me that it evokes the atmosphere of that period.
Right. Yeah.
Something that impressed me is, you know, approaching the show, I really thought like it's in Hollywood. It really could have been like a show really heavy on guest stars and a lot of pizzazz, but the focus was Joni's best songwriting. And I didn't expect that. I thought for sure it'd be an all-star cast, but there was less of that than there was at the Gorge. I mean,
I love like that Elton was there and didn't perform.
Yeah, he did.
He wasn't feeling well.
I mean, that's a pretty high level support to be sitting in the back row and not taking the center stage at any point.
And Brandy too. She was very supportive, but low key. I mean, she added some vocals.
Not like in Newport.
Yeah, I think I think, you know, and Jahida, I'll call on you next. I think as Joni fan,
your camera's off. Maybe your sound too. We can't.
Are you with us, Jahida? Well, I'll just say really quickly. Let's just.
I know. I have it off on purpose.
Well, go ahead, Jahida. Your hand's up. What?
I was just gonna say that she did do Hajira both nights.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah. So. But I have more to say. I just wanted to because I was like, I thought she did, so I looked it up on the set lists, and she in fact did perform it both nights. So,
Maybe the
but
person.
I'm almost home, so that's why I'm like driving, and that's why I'm like so.
Well, perhaps the person transcribing the set list, they must have missed it and then added it in a little bit later.
One of the things, sorry, I remember from the Gorge was before the show was just the electricity in the crowd, and this great communal feeling of being with people that you've never met before, but you can like totally relate to it. It was a really unique audience member experience for me. I go to a lot of concerts, but I don't think I've ever felt that much like unified camaraderie. And I don't know if it was like that in the Hollywood Bowl, but man, that was definitely a big impression I had at the
It was
Gorge.
definitely like that. I mean, there were people that flew from Australia, Korea, Canada, I mean, Japan, just, and, and everybody you sat next to were just nice folks.
And the chances are that this will never happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, not in that place I mean, she may sing again somewhere, but this was something they worked on for 6 months to do these 2 nights, and that's why people came from all over the world.
Right. I feel like Joni's kind of like an unspoken language. Like we just all understand. My friends in Tampa, they're like, "What was it like?" I'm like, I feel like I found my people. Like Joni fans, they're really smart, they're really sensitive, they're kind of dirty, like kind of a little snarky, a little nasty. Like I loved it. Like, woo! Like we can cry and then rip on each other and like, oh.
You know what? You know what was kind of we've never seen Joni before, and so this was
we at this 75.
well, we never seen her perform.
Yeah.
And this was the first time after all these years of studying her music.
Wow.
And so that was momentous for us. But one of the cute things was she still got her giggle.
Yeah.
It's it's a good octave lower than it used to be, but she still finds things amusing, and just looking out at 17,500 people with their cell phones on their flashlights, and she just said, "Isn't that beautiful?"
She said that at the Gorge too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said it looks like a falling constellation.
Yeah.
Well, she still has a sense of humor, and I mean, she knows what's happening. I mean, the Trump comment, that was gratifying because we were hoping it wasn't just going to always be circle game, which I like circle game, but she still has that.
She's still there.
Yeah.
Before we go into the track by track, this is totally stating the obvious, but we kind of went on this journey together over the last few years. I mean, at this point, nothing but love for Brandy Carlisle. I mean, she learned all these songs. She really became a really supportive player here. She didn't have to do any of this. You know what I mean? Like, she could have done Newport and ridden the wave, but it's clearly that she really cares about this person we care about, and much love to her for being part of this show. So
yeah, I agree.
if she watches any of the old podcasts, we'll eat shit now. So anyway,
I was talking to Lauren about that, and my friend Lauren, who does the Lauren and the Good Souls tribute band up in Rochester, she's a music therapist, and she was saying that Joni Jam setup was like therapy for Joni.
Her recovery.
They helped her to come back, and and really nurtured her, like feeling okay about singing again, and and improvising and all that kind of stuff, and she really believes that that's possible for people who've had those kind of strokes to come back like that with music therapy. So it was pretty cool to hear that.
Well, before we go into the track by track, Jahida, is there anything you want to say overall, or do you want to wait till you get home? I don't mean to put you on the spot. No? Okay. She'll be back with us.
Yeah.
All right. So, Sue, let me ask one thing before we go into the track by track. Did your jaw just when each song started and you realized what song it was, like, what did you do? Because
Oh
the set list wasn't online yet.
Yeah.
No one knew what the set list was. Like, can you even convey
It's
like how it felt?
well, when she opened with "Be Cool," I turned to Pause and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This is going to be amazing."
Yeah.
You know, and then she played Harlem and Havana, you know, and so right away you knew that she was in control. You know,
Right.
she had decided what songs she wanted to sing, and they were all behind her, and nobody was like, "What? Nobody's ever heard of that," you know. But you know, it was just and just the over like shock of it that okay, I'm sitting here and this is gonna happen, you know, and she was on it, man. And the band, like Dave was saying, the band was amazing. And I think that as the more beloved songs started to play too, you know, it was like so deeply validating for me as a fan, you know, to say I have been in love with this song for like 45 years. And I've listened to it nearly, you know, like at least a couple times a week for like the last 45 years. And here she is sitting in front of us singing it, you know, and she's still here and she's still, you know, this amazing force, you know. And, you know, nobody can convince me otherwise that she isn't one of the best genius musicians.
Oh, there's no doubt.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, you know, if you know, you were sitting, you know, at a Stravinsky concert or you know, Beethoven or something like that. It's like, I really felt like that, like this being, you know, like Brandy says, it's great to live in the time of Joni Mitchell, you know, I mean, I had to pinch myself. I was like, you know, and I've seen her many times, you know, but you know, this really felt like the culmination of everything coming together of, you know, what we've been doing for the last, you know, couple of years. So,
Right.
yeah.
So everyone comes on stage. Let's go into the tracks. There's like 80 of them. Not 80, but
Oh yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Well, first of all, the stage it had Joni Mitchell. It was all blue, and then when it started, the stage revolved around, and the whole setup was there, and the musicians were there.
So nobody walked on stage. They were already on. Everybody was on couches.
oh, was it like the Grammys where they turned around and she was in the chair?
They turned around and everybody was plugged in and sitting comfortably and ready to go. So there was nobody scuffling around, plugging in chords and check. None of that shit. It was really slick.
Wow. So when you were sitting there before the first note started and someone asked you, like, what do you think the first songs would be? Would your first guess have been Be Cool into Harlem and Havana, for God's sakes? She's pulling out Taming the Tiger in the first couple songs. What the fuck?
Well, it really indicated that she was in charge of this show and the set list.
Yeah.
You know, the songs.
Jack.
I have a question. So, well, like her later day versions of Both Sides Now, because of her voice and maturity and whatever, sort of take on a whole new meaning or depth to them, I think.
Absolutely.
Were there any of the other songs that she did at this show where this older, mature, crackier voice, it brought a different meaning or a deeper meaning to, like Both Sides Now? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, some of the songs that we have not heard her play in many, many, many years, you know, like you know, I always loved Turbulent Indigo. I mean, her voice was starting to get low then, but she played Refuge of the Roads too, and she did have some help with some of the blues songs, but I mean, I just thought that her timing and her like being in part, you know, in full voice in the song, you know, even though it was a different type of voice, still brought the power of the song, You
Do you think
know,
it's fair to say like something like If I Had a Heart or Dog Eat Dog, in the context of the climate of 2024, gives it a whole new meaning, right? Not a new meaning, but like,
mhm.
a
Oh, it's
more
just
impact.
so relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, but Sire of Sorrow was really that was moving. I
You
mean,
couldn't get a deeper track than that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the last song
Yeah.
on Children Indigo, and it's
it was
never
just
been
great.
performed before. But because she had these excellent backup singers, that they were able to do the what did they call the antagonists?
Yes.
They were able to to really act that role.
Mhm.
So and so I realize now that those opening tunes really featured the backup singers, Be Cool and Harlem and Havana. They have really good backup vocal arrangements.
Right.
So you got to hear the whole band right away.
Yeah.
But to Jack's question, I would say even Circle Game, which is at this in relation to this other body of work, is kind of a throwaway tune, but and the seasons they go around and around. I mean, it all of a sudden gained poignancy because here she's 81 years old,
Right.
and
Yeah.
she's talking about a 21-year-old thinking he's old, or 20, was it Neil Young? Was he 20 or 21? And so there's irony there, and she just you realize the way she foretold the future was dead on every time. Dog Eat Dog was a prophecy of what would happen 40 years later, almost exactly what's happening. Circle Game, both sides now. I mean, it's the ultimate projection into the future, and now she's the future.
Well, and are we? Wait, we're not supposed to get into the other songs yet.
Two gray rooms, still stalking people. Yes, I am. No.
Magdalene Laundry.
Oh God. All right. So Be Cool in Harlem and Havana. Any commentary on these tracks from those who were there or not there?
Well, they were very, very tight. There was no kind of three or four songs to warm up. It was they came out swinging.
Yeah.
Cool.
In the jazz sense.
Well, the kind of Be Cool segued into Harlem, and
Yeah.
I mean it worked really well.
Wow.
And does it do that on the album?
No, they're on different albums.
Oh, different album. Okay.
Yeah, Be Cool's on
Wild Things.
Past, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But it did move. It did go into each other pretty good. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that they had the same kind of beat in it or something. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So then from there, she goes into, she just hits it hard with Hajira. Like, right, or however we pronounce on this podcast. I feel like there was a whole
Hydra.
Hajira. Sue, what was, we're not expecting this. So
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it was like as soon as you hear that opening, and the guitar player was also the music director.
Weren't there three though?
Yeah, there were three guitars. You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and they were all. I mean, I know that Wendy was playing all the tunings. She always does, and so as soon as you hear that opening, you know what song it is.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, I just couldn't keep it together. It was like, this is the point where I'm like crying so hard that Paz and Les are like holding me, going, "It's gonna be okay,"
oh,
Good to have friends,
Wendy and Lisa had an album called White Flags of Winter Chimneys.
Oh
So,
yeah, they loved it, Joni.
yeah. So they always loved that song and that album.
Yeah.
And that'll be our next podcast, is the Archives 4, where we go into all the demos and stuff. But
yeah, it's really fantastic too.
so
Yeah,
from there, this is where I would have lost it, because I love those Night Ride Home songs. She freaking did Cherokee Louise.
Yep. She told a little story before it too about Cree Mary. So yeah, that was really cool. Hey.
Jahida.
Welcome, Jahida. And Jahida, do you want to take the floor a little bit and catch us up
with life,
with your thoughts, whatever you like? Because you were at the concert.
I was, yes. So just like Sue said, the first night, I cried like a baby, basically. It was pretty much Kevin and I just holding each other for dear life.
Oh.
Just looking at each other like, oh my God. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I never in a million years thought I would ever hear those songs from her, like live.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, Hejira, that was it. I was like, "Blah," like I can die now. I think, I mean, and I don't know if this happened the second night with you guys as well, because I didn't get to see you, which makes me really sad. But I remember going towards where everybody was because I was sitting down with Barbara and Marianne and Kevin down by the like table seats. And so I walked over to where everybody was after that first half. And I say walked over, really I floated over.
Aw.
And I was kind of in a daze and I just walked there and I just looked at everybody was like, did that really just happen? Like so we all look the same. We all look like somebody just like dosed us or something. Like we were all just out of it. And yeah, I mean I just the first of all, the vibe of everyone there. We were sitting next to a group of Brandy fans, but you could just like you were walking around, everyone seemed to be so happy. Like it was just, a calm, but yet like just giddy, and electric was the right word. I kept hearing the song Electricity in my head. And yeah, it was incredible. I mean, and the venue itself is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like you're walking, you're in the middle of like, LA, and then all of a sudden, like you go behind these walls and you're like, holy shit, like this is beautiful. I mean, it's no Red Rocks. I'm a little biased, but but it was really beautiful. And there was during Night Ride Home, there was the moon coming up, right? It didn't happen the second night, but it happened the first night because it was later. And so the moon was coming right over the top of the bowl right around the same time. And we looked at each other and we're like, did she plan this? I mean, she is pretty magical. Maybe she has an in with like, Diana of the Moon or something.
Or the thief
yeah.
just left it behind.
Yes. It was
also a really nice breeze. It was really comfortable. The temperature.
It was really nice. I wasn't like freezing or anything, and I wasn't wearing. I mean, I wore a nice sweater over what I had, but I was wearing a light like silky dress that I actually wore for the Library of Congress, and it was comfortable. It was really such a fun night, so great, and I'm immensely glad that I said to myself, you know what, I have to be there, and I made it there.
Yeah, it was great.
I came back to work and everyone was like, oh my God, you look like you're so happy. And I was like, because I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm gonna take my camera off because I'm gonna eat, and I don't want to have video of me just stuffing my face while I'm on camera. So drinking is one thing, but having a rotisserie chicken like nobody wants that.
Well, I'm glad you're here with us.
Yes.
Another interesting thing about this show is, the Gorge was part of a festival. So you had a Brandy concert the night before, then the Joni concert, then Tanya Tucker. So this was just a Joni concert. So everyone was there just for the Joni concert. Even if they were Brandy fans, it was still a Joni concert.
Right,
So,
right.
It really was the culmination of years of events of Joni's recovery leading up to this night. So
I think there was a who's who of LA people there. I mean, Tom Hanks was there, Jane Fonda was there, Stevie Wonder was there. Apparently, we didn't necessarily see him, but apparently he went to her dressing room and
He
congratulated
didn't
her.
see you either.
Yeah. Thank you. But
That's
but
the
anyway,
Joni fans right there that I was talking about.
but this is Joni's basically her hometown now, and so everyone was out in force for that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, all those people could have been on stage. It could have just turned into the circus of, guest. It could have been like the Santana album where all the guest performers were all
Well,
over.
she didn't have them all
she
on
didn't-
stage in the first half. When they did the intermission, that's when Elton John and Tom Hanks's wife Rita
Rita Wilson.
they appeared, and
Meryl Streep, right?
Yeah, Meryl Streep was there.
right.
Yeah.
But before, in the first half, those folks weren't there. So it was really all about the music in the first half, and then the second half was more a recreation of the living room, a Joni jam, I guess.
All right. So, any thoughts on the live version of Cherokee Louise that she did? She told the story. I saw that on YouTube.
Yeah, it was a pretty long story, and but I mean, she did a great job. I mean, that's a beautiful song.
It's a heartbreaking.
And I think in a way that's when I miss her style of playing guitar, because she plays that shuffle for that song.
Yeah.
It's really nice. But they did a good job. It was great.
Well, after that, then we hear you were there. You were in the audience for a live version of Coyote. What'd you do when you heard those chords?
It was great. People kept talking about, like, I guess a week or two before that, they did a live last waltz with a bunch of people who had been there, and talking about the last waltz. I don't know. I mean, it was always weird with Joni there because nobody could play with her, So when she played Coyote, it was just really interesting. But I love Coyote, and it says right on this set list here that it was the first time she played it since 2001.
Oh my goodness!
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting.
Where did she play it in 2001? Does anybody know?
Probably on the Bob. Oh,
Bob and
tour. Yeah, I think that was that 2001. I can't remember now.
Robin just reminded me that as we were taking our seats, they played the whole of the fiddle and the drum
Yes,
ballet.
they did.
Oh,
So we got to hear all the songs from the ballet while we were coming in. So in addition to the 3 hours of music that we saw live, there were tunes like Passion Play that were heard, from the ballet soundtrack.
Did they show the ballet like on the screens?
Yep.
Yeah, on both
Wow.
of the
Yeah, it
screens.
was really cool.
That had to be cool.
all right. So next on the set list, Carrie. So was it basically the same version as the Gorge overall?
I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who played with her on that.
No, actually, I would have to say, I feel like it came out a little differently.
Okay.
I think it was, I mean, it wasn't exactly the same, is basically what I'm saying. It wasn't like drastically different.
Right.
But yeah, it was a little different because wasn't it this guy, Marcus Mumford, who did Carrie?
Well,
He
he
did-
did
he did
California
California.
with her.
No, I'm saying at the Gorge, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did it.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. You're
So
right.
it was a little different because it's got it was for her voice, not his. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so Joni took the lead on this one in this version.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lucius did a lot of the background singing there too. That was good.
So Sue kind of touched on the way the other singers were employed. They because Joni doesn't really have any range anymore. They had worked out when the melody would go past her range, the backup singers would take over, and Joni would sometimes sing a low harmony to that. So she would continue singing, but the melody got taken over by the other singers, which must have taken quite a bit of planning.
Yeah.
Like I noticed in Coyote, at the end of every verse, Brandy put a little part on it. It really was nice to kind of tie everything together. It sounded good. It was understated.
Yeah, I think one of the struggles is because of Joni's unique phrasing that it would be very hard For
Well,
the
that's a
backup.
great point, Jack, because there were times where she did this very odd phrasing, but they were right with her. So I think they must have rehearsed all of that very carefully because, uh, well, it tells me that she's probably pretty consistent. They must have learned how she phrases something in rehearsal and then mimicked it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, they were right with her odd phrasing.
Cool.
It was interesting because I saw a clip and I was being a little cynical. I'm like, man, it just seems like I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't representative for the whole show. But I'm like, is she just reading off a teleprompter and kind of making up where she is? But then you realize that she knows exactly where she is and she's doing it the same in every verse. And then someone recently posted the first performance of Night Ride Home and how she did the phrasing almost totally different than she did it on the album. So that's how Joni's always been, that she's fluid with her phrasing. So
Yeah.
I feel like what she did to the Hollywood Bowl is just on par of how she's always been. You know, when you're at a concert, you want to sing along, but you can't in a Joni concert because she's doing her thing.
You know what? She changed a line on one of those on one of them in that song, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, she did.
I'm pissed off at the guy behind next.
Pissed off at the guy beside me.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
It
no.
said that she pissed off Adam. She pissed him off, I think. It was I pissed off the guy beside me.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I thought it was I'm pissed off at the guy beside me.
Yeah.
The man beside me.
It's pretty funny.
I was gonna say that whole idea of changing and playing with the phrasing mostly, that's a very jazz thing to do, which
Yeah.
solidifies what Dave said earlier, that, you know, her opening would be cool really just shows that she is a jazzer at heart, you know, and it was very apparent during this night for right now, you know, especially like she relies heavily on that jazz shuffle and those, you know, types of rhythms and phrasings to get like that cool sensibility, you know. I mean, not that Joni needs any help being cool, but you know.
And let's not hesitate for one more second to comment on her cane because she's just sitting there tapping it.
Oh,
Yeah. She keeps the time.
but you know what? I use it. I go to concerts a lot. And I use a cane when I go to a concert, and I find myself doing the same damn thing.
Do you think of Joni when you do it though? You got to.
Every now and then, it's like, oh my god, I'm doing a Joni, you know.
But you can see her keeping the complexity of the time with the cane. Like if you just
Yeah.
watch the cane, you can see that, you know, that's her meter. It's really cool to
Yeah.
watch.
I know.
It's funny because it kind of confuses me, actually. I think, what is she doing with that cane? Because it never seems to be with the rhythm of the song to me, but I don't know, it's working for her.
On the off-
But I really find it like, what?
It's so true. Like I'm like my roommate when he goes to the club like cannot dance on the rhythm, like never. So I feel like Joni's cane is like my roommate Brody. That like there's a beat, there's a cane. They might not match up, but somehow it makes sense.
Yeah.
Bit of a sound man's nightmare, actually, to have somebody stomping on the stage when you've got open microphones everywhere.
Did it ever bleed through? Did you guys ever hear the thump?
No, but
Really?
that any thumping on a stage, especially if it's wood, goes right up the mic stands.
Oh yeah, right.
Might be concrete, so
Maybe they put some carpet under or something.
Yeah, or some sort of acoustic padding or something. Yeah.
All right, so Carrie finishes up and you're sitting in the audience like, what's next? Oh, it's only the Sire of Sorrow. That's all. So, what did you like?
I
What did you
lost
do?
it. I'm like, listen to this. What is she doing? It's
Like
so,
she comes in, let me speak. Let me
Yeah.
spit out my bitter. Like, holy shit.
so amazing.
Now, how did the crowds react to that kind of song? I mean, was it the same enthusiasm as?
Absolutely.
Jack, it was pure reverence all the way through for every utterance in every song. But no, I was expecting there to be 17,000 people singing along to every song, and I'm really glad they didn't do that because that would have just been a football game, you know.
Yeah.
But instead, they were hanging on her every word, and that was much better.
Yeah.
Now, Sire of Sorrow, I really that's a sleeper tune for me, but it really came across amazing live. In fact, I would say that's the first time that song kind of reached me.
Okay.
Hear her do it. Um,
Why do you think? Do you think it's because of the state of the world or the arrangement or
yeah, somewhat, but also it's such a theatrical, dramatic piece. It has to be live. It doesn't
Mhm.
really work on a
Right.
record.
It's almost like
I mean,
opera.
yeah, it doesn't work as well, but you've got your Greek chorus and you've got your, you know, your. I mean, that's obviously how she conceived it, but
Mhm.
it worked in live better than I think it does on recording.
Yeah.
true? Because on the album, she's doing her own backups. She's doing her own harmony. I felt like the drums
Well,
are
not on
so
Travelogue, but yeah.
right. Not on, that's right. She did it on Travelogue. Um, I felt like the drum track was so quantized on the Turbulent Indigo. It almost felt like it didn't have room to breathe.
Yeah,
So
it was the 90s were very bombastic drum times. Uh,
Boom, boom.
I'll never forget Dave, because we're all approaching Night Ride Home like it's her rebirth, and you're like, well, the production's not that different than Chalk Mark kind of Rainstorm with the big drums and a lot of the same studio sounds, and you were absolutely right.
well,
So
that was what was happening, late 80s, early 90s, and she had Vinnie Colaiuta, for God's sake. Um, so she had the best drummer in the world, and but that sort of massive reverb and the kind of taiko dramatic thing that would be considered too much now, but back then that was the happening thing.
well, that was definitely the right song and the right place for it. I
But
watched.
this drummer, I mean, I forget his name, but he was just beautiful. This guy, this student of Brian Blade's, he he really never overplayed. He played very quietly and let the engineer work the mix so that he wasn't loud on stage, and just really tasteful. Um,
And
so
he
there
was
was
wearing these like bells and things on his legs. Did you see that?
Well, that's something that Alex Acuna did in
Mhm.
on the Night Ride Home album,
Wow.
and and on Dreamland. That those ankle bells are part of a, a Peruvian percussion setup.
Cool.
But anyway,
I
I've
just
kind of
realized I was unmuted. I'm so sorry. You guys
I
heard me like going
no,
all over the place and
not at
stuff.
all.
But I love this rhythm section because they, um, actually, with the exception of Jacob Collier on a couple of tunes where he really bashed and overplayed. I mean, he's an amazing musician. He's the amazing musician, but he was a little bit too um, bombastic, I think, when it was his turn to do something, and especially on both sides now, he didn't have to show off his fast runs or anything. He put some hip chords in there, but he was really, I thought, was kind of took it down a notch because the tenderness of it was lost. But I'm probably the only person that thought that.
All right, well, Sire of Sorrow. Then we go into a freaking Mingus song. God must be a boogeyman. What'd you all do when she starts with that? He
What
is
do you
three.
think?
Yeah.
We all sang with her.
That must have been a good time. Because, when you think of a Joni sing along, you're like, okay, we'll sing the Big Yellow Taxi. Did you think you'd be singing God Must Be a Boogeyman?
I mean, at
No.
that point, it was like, bring it on. It's
Yep.
like she
Abe
sang
Rounds. That's his
"Fire
name.
of Sorrow."
After that, anything goes, right?
Yeah, right.
The drummer's name is Abe Rounds.
Oh.
Okay.
And
Well,
I think actually he's not just a disciple of Brian Blade. I believe Alex Acuna as well. So that would make sense.
yeah,
Okay.
ankle bells.
And I think possibly also Sanchez.
Huh?
and maybe he meant Tacosa or something, but let me see.
Antonio Sanchez.
Antonio Sanchez, yes. Who and he used to do a drumming workshop at the college that I went to every year called Cosa, and it was like all world drumming and stuff like that. So, um, oh, he's from Sydney, Australia. How
Hey,
about that? But yeah, I guess I'm yeah, he doesn't really say much there, but okay. I vaguely remember reading something about him with Antonio Sanchez as well, but I'm pretty sure he's just kind of, very he seems to be one of those people who really absorbs, right? Because he was pretty incredible. I mean, and like you were saying, like he never was too much. You know what I mean? It was just so tasteful. Like it wasn't, he didn't stand out, and that was a good thing, you know?
his pocket was perfect, but
Yeah.
he never overplayed.
Yeah, you could tell he was really listening to everybody, and there was a lot of people to listen to.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people on stage, boy.
Yeah, there was a ton of people up there. So, yeah.
All right. So next, we're back to Turbulent Indigo. How'd you all feel about the version of Sunny Sunday she did? What else can be said, right?
Well, first of all, the fact that she played Sunny Sunday.
I know.
Like, Kevin and I looked at each other and we're like, is this Sunny fucking Sunday? Like, what? Well, I will say, like, another thing that you were saying, Dave, too, is, it wasn't something where there were 17,000 people singing along, because I kind of feel like some of the people in the first set were probably like, what song is this? You know what I mean? But meanwhile, you have people like us who are just like, freaking out
Yeah.
and singing along to songs that people are like, I don't even know what the name of the song is. What is the song? So, yeah, it was pretty incredible. Like, I mean, I guess the whole idea of Hajira, hearing Hajira and Coyote, like, you're like, well, yeah, if she's gonna do not usually played stuff, like you would expect, she probably would play something from Hajira, just simply because it's really getting its due now, right? Like,
Sure.
people are discovering it and realizing what genius it is. But to go to, like Night Ride Home and Turbulent Indigo, songs that, people didn't really like listen to, but we did, and are rediscovering them and saying, oh wow, like this is really neat, and I wonder how many people ended up going home and listening to these albums, and especially, something like Doggy Dog and stuff like that, and trying to find and realizing, dang, Joni is like Nostradamus, like, how does she write these songs that like are so timely today? And it's like, well, that whole saying about history. So, but yeah, I mean, still, it's just it was really incredible. And just having like that languid kind of, moment there with Sunny Sunday, where it's like, she's a little, she's a Blanche Dubois, like she's a little pistolero. It's great,
Yeah, I love that song because it's very short.
Right.
The lyrics are just like, she always misses.
I feel
that line always kills me,
It's deceptively simple. I feel
it's
like
really simple, but it's beautiful. You could see it. It's a movie,
Right. Especially like leading off such a dense album as Turbulent Indigo. What a genius way. So
she has very cinematic sorry, I was gonna say she has very cinematic ways of writing. Scarlett is the same. Like, she's very cinematic.
Dave?
Just to follow on your point, Jahida, that it was sort of a loyalty test. So
I think we all passed, y'all.
We did, but yeah, like, okay, I bet you don't know this one.
And you're all singing along. The day she hits, that's the day she leaves.
but she was always at the time of Dog Eat Dog. She was always kind of bummed that that album got panned so much because she believed in it.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that was panned about it was the sound of it because the songs are really good. And now, I mean, maybe like Good Friends and stuff, they're fairly throwaway, but the title track
Oh, I
and
like that
um,
song.
well, I like it too, but that didn't like portend the future,
Oh, no.
you know.
I don't know
Like,
the comeback that Yacht Rock made with
It's
Michael
true.
McDonald.
but like Three Great Stimulants and Dog Eat Dog, I mean, those are just so
Yeah.
powerful now.
But even when they were written at the time, because when did Dog Eat Dog come out?
85.
I mean,
85.
there's Ronald Reagan. There not a whole lot has changed.
Well, except they didn't realize back then how bad Ronald Reagan was, right?
Yeah.
Well, she
No.
did.
Well,
Yeah, she-
again, Joni, Nostradamus. Like, he can see through the bullshit.
Reagan stressed Joni out so much that her hair got frizzy.
Oh, that was her problem. I just have to say that at the concert this weekend, Lauren invited this poet to come on stage, and she did a spoken word recital of Dog Eat Dog.
Oh.
And it reminded me of David when he used to do them. It was just so powerful. I mean, every line was like spitting at you, And this woman was really great too. It was great.
Well, I feel like that album's going to get its due considering the climate we're about to enter, and that's the next archive set, and reissues will be the 80s.
Oh, I know.
So-
Yeah, true.
Wow.
Bring it on. We're ready.
Surprised she didn't do Borderline because that would have been.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah.
David, do you remember which one you did? Didn't you do Sire of Sorrows once?
I tried to do Sire of Sorrow once, but it didn't work. But I do Don Juan's Reckless Daughter.
Right, yeah,
A
that's a great
cappella.
one. Yeah.
Oh my God, speaking of which, I know we're kind of getting ahead, but how incredible. I never would have thought of putting Coyote with Don Juan's Reckless Daughter together,
Oh, yeah.
archives. And it's like, oh my God, it makes so much sense.
It's in the same
And
tuning.
it's so good.
It's the
Well,
same-
I don't know. I
They've
don't
always
hear that
been
like
together.
you do, Sue. You like, I swear you listen to a song, you're instantly tabbing it in your head. But it's just, I was like, oh my goodness, it makes so much sense. Like, I want to hear it like that forever now.
They're both Sam Shepard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 Days on Your Tail. Kind of.
Well, holy wars, suicide, genocide, hate and cruelty. If I had a heart, I'd cry. I can't believe she did this song.
I know. Chris Cascaro was dying at the,
Where is Chris? Has anyone texted me where he is?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll text
he was there this weekend.
No, he's supposed to be with us now.
I know. What the heck?
I'll text them.
All right.
That's his favorite song, though.
Now, Dave, I know that you weren't a huge fan of the Shine album. How did you feel about this song live?
About the same.
About the same?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess it was a big thing that she recorded anything after Travelogue because that was the swan song,
Right.
Well, that was actually Turbulent Indigo was the first swan song, and then she did a couple more swan songs, and
There are a lot of swans.
yeah. But so Shine was, I suppose, a great thing for people who wanted to hear new stuff. But I just, as we talked about at the time, I think it was kind of thrown together, and she could have had it really great players on it, but she didn't bother. She used presets on her synth and loops, and that's just kind of cheap. That's just kind of what people do in their bedroom.
I thought Brandy Carlisle's version at the Kennedy Center was it, or the Gershwin?
Yeah, the Gershwin Award.
I thought it was more kind of gospel-y.
Well, you're talking about Shine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm talking. We were talking about
If I Had a Heart.
If I Had a Heart, I'd
Oh,
Cry,
oh.
which I don't think is a great song myself. But I think Shine is probably the best song on the album.
I like If a lot.
See, I like Hannah. I like that. I don't mind that drum loop and this background harmonies. All right.
So can I ask Dave? So having seen her now perform with a really excellent band, do you think there's potential recording in the future?
You think she'll do something with them? Do I think she'll do something?
With a similar style, whatever. I mean, do you think that there's a capability for her to put out a great album with that kind of backup?
Well, to be honest, and I probably shouldn't say this while the tape is, recording, but she doesn't have the voice. We compensated hugely for her because it was so marvelous to hear her. And as Robin said, she sold the songs. But that's not the same thing as getting in front of a mic in a studio and recording. Even if the song is interesting, I don't think she can really pull it off anymore. And bless her, she doesn't have to. But and it's probably true that her voice has improved since the Gorge and since Newport. We weren't there, but it's still not ready to record.
Okay.
Well, but she could take all the time that she would need to record.
It's not
And
just
they can-
pitch, though. I mean, she doesn't
Yeah.
have
No,
have
but
tone anymore.
if she wrote new songs that fit her voice,
Possibly, if she kind of
Yeah.
wrote songs that were half spoken, maybe that could work, kind of Leonard Cohen style.
Um,
I mean, look at her, what she did for I'm Still Standing. She wrote all new lyrics for that. And she freaking kills that song.
I could see her recording a studio version of that, maybe.
Oh, I would be the first in line to buy it. I want to cover it myself.
But look at what she did with like the poem, though, This Rain, where it was spoken, but she could go in that direction.
I
Tony
would,
does rap.
I would think she would do, kind of maybe lean more into the jazz kind of, you know, sultry,
I mean, yeah.
terribly demanding, but I don't know.
Listen, if
I mean,
Tom
just-
Waits can make a career and have the voice, I literally played him for my students today because we talked about vocal technique being, more or better than actual like writing technique, right? And it's just like, well, sometimes it's about the words more so and the emotion more than the actual vocal prowess.
I mean,
And Joni's got that in spades. I mean, she
Yeah.
can write her, we talked about this how many times about this, the Fallen Constellation. Joni, like Brian says, Joni farts poetry, and it's just, and so I think comparatively to the Gorge, you can tell she is stretching her range. She's trying to reach things that she probably hasn't tried to reach for years. And I mean, she's not hitting them all, and that's fine. But I agree with Robin in that, like, she's got time. She could take her time, really like make deliberate choices. And especially when we hear her story about Wayne Shorter, right? Like she could end up becoming like Wayne Shorter and being like, "Can I try that again? Do a different take, And maybe somebody else will say, "No, Joni, it's good."
Well,
Um,
she's pretty meticulous in
Yeah.
when she recorded her, when she was younger. But something like "Summertime," I think she sounds really good on that.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a song that she's comfortable with.
mhm.
And she can
Well, it's very
kind of
very
phrase it.
undemanding vocally too.
Yeah.
But she's
But
phrases.
you're able to milk it for emotion,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
she's expert at.
a lot of times in the studio, you don't have to sing as loud. She can,
Oh, yeah.
there won't be that pressure to have the full band behind you. I think of
Well,
like
they-
Marianne Faithfull's last album, or, even Stevie Nicks doesn't have the range that she used to have, and she's still out there recording.
The band made a point of never playing loud at the bowl. She never had to push.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't like the sound man had to keep her on top of the mix. The band played softly.
Okay.
And in fact, speaking of the mix, the whole volume of the show was very modest. And you don't hear that very often these days because the of course the gear can pump air at you hugely, but they didn't do that here. It was very kind of living room level volume, I thought.
And not any problems listening to it? You didn't have people talking next to you?
No.
Good.
No.
Reverence.
I remember there was a concert I saw Stevie Nicks, and these people behind me were just talking the whole time. So I stood up for a song, and they were like, "Oh, he's standing up." And I turned around and I said, "I'll sit down if you shut up." And they that took care of that. Okay.
By the way, Chris had dental appointment today or something. So he said his mouth is still feeling pretty lazy. So he's like not able to really talk very much. So
Oh, well, he's still welcome to join off camera and type in the box if he'd like to. We love him as someone whose mouth is never tired. Anyway, moving on.
No, I have something to say. I have something to say about Joni's voice. I have something to say about Joni's voice, and it might be a complete non sequitur, but
save this podcast. Save it.
I remember seeing a documentary about Linda Ronstadt, who got, I believe, MS and stopped singing,
Yep.
from singing it. And at the end of this long documentary about her life, and I think it's actually produced by her nephew, but I'm not sure. She sings and she sounds fucking great.
Yeah, doing the harmonies, right, with her.
Yeah, and the filmmaker says, "I thought you said you couldn't sing anymore," and she says, "That was a sketch." And I don't know. I kind of, part of me kind of wishes that Joni had a little bit of that humility, and then I think I'm wrong, and then I actually think I'm very wrong. But that's my initial reaction is like, that's a sketch. It's not singing. But anyway, that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Has anyone else seen that Linda documentary? It's really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was Parkinson's she had.
Parkinson's, you're right.
No, I think didn't they discover that it wasn't actually Parkinson's? I have to that they misdiagnosed her for
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna Google.
Okay.
Because I just recently tried to figure this out too, because I remember reading that and being really surprised that they misdiagnosed her. But yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
It's interesting. We'll go back to Joni in a second, but Linda's talking about the last performance she ever did. She's like, I was just up there shouting. She sounded wonderful. I watched the video. She's definitely her own worst critic. I guess she understands her own body, but I thought she sounded great. All right. If I had a heart, what song can we follow that up with? How about Refuge of the Roads?
Yeah.
So
another tear moment.
Yeah, I immediately texted Sue. Was like, "Oh my god!"
My favorite
because I know it's her favorite. I was like, I'm so thrilled for you.
It's interesting that she never sang it on the album. She always does the first lines different, right?
Yeah. She changed. Yeah, she'll say, "Drunk with sage's eyes" instead of a drunk.
Drunk and womanized, right?
Yeah.
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 I just can't.
She talked about Chung. I'm getting his name wrong now. Chungpa. Yeah, before the song, which was pretty cool too.
What was his quote that was very impactful to her?
Yeah, he was he's a Tibetan monk, and he started a meditation center in Colorado that became really, really famous for the hippies who went there. Allen Ginsberg was out there all the time, and she got caught up in that. I think it might have been the same year as the Rolling Thunder review.
Ooh, what a year that was, right?
Yeah, right.
What year was that?
Huh?
What year was that?
I think it was 76 or
late 75, early 76.
Late 75.
Well,
yeah.
I lived in Boulder in 72, and that he was there.
Oh.
Yeah.
What I forget the name of the.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Yeah, it was definitely a very
Still
popular
there.
place.
Listen, you better not. Our Joni podcast got slaughtered on YouTube. There was the episode of Shadows and Light. Someone's like, why don't you guys Google and do your homework? Lyle Mays was playing blah, 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 whatever keyboard
Oh
he's
yeah,
playing.
right.
I'm
There's
like,
always completists out there, right?
so I'm like, well, you're welcome to join my Patreon if you'd like to, and I'm happy to do more research for you. So whoever you are, if you're watching this, just send me a note and $5 a month. By the way, thank you to my Patreon supporters here. Anyway, any other thoughts on Refuge of the Roads?
Well, I just think that the stories that she told that night were really great too. You know, if I can't remember all the words, but that was one where she had an intro to describe how the song happened. So it was cool.
All right, and then she goes into Night Ride Home. She's pissed off at the man beside her, Larry Klein, still getting roasted decades later. Was he in the audience? Does anyone know?
I don't think so. No.
Might have been.
What?
He might have been.
Oh,
Because they're still friendly, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, his wife does Joni covers.
Okay, well, that's a little Fleetwood Mac-ish. All right.
How original.
Okay.
So the
Woo!
places are called Shambhala,
Oh,
Okay.
Shambhala meditation centers. And Linda Ronstadt has progressive supranuclear palsy,
oh.
which is Parkinson's like. So that's why they misdiagnosed it, I guess.
And it's another thing. Well, I'll Google it, but I wonder if it's also incurable.
Probably.
Poor Linda. We love Linda. All right. The version of Both Sides now. We've seen it come back at Newport. We saw it at the Gorge. We saw it at the Grammys. What do you guys think of this version?
Devastating.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's really the most beautiful song she ever wrote. It's not my favorite, but it's just the perfect song. And no matter how you do it, I didn't think her original version did justice to it. But you know, once we heard the orchestral version, she herself realized how much there was to plumb from that. And despite what I said about Jacob, who is one of my favorite musicians, but I think he grandstanded a bit on the Sunday night, don't know about Saturday, just because he can. But it was gorgeous. The strings, you know, the backup singers, and it was just the perfect moment. And the poignancy was 100% because of Joni's age, and now she wrote herself a song to sing 60 years later.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Shout out to Bob. What would he call that? The franchise?
Franchise,
Yeah.
yes.
It's so funny.
Right? We've played that song in pretty much every concert we've done in 20 years, and it never gets tiring.
It's gorgeous.
That Grammy performance was just a legendary moment in time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I sing that one sometimes with my accompanist when we're playing, and I do that version obviously because I'm not singing those high pitch ones. So, but it doesn't. I mean, even people who don't listen to Joni, who don't like appreciate her the way that we do, like even they have like stopped, and I've seen people just be like really taken, and I don't think it's because of my singing. I think it's the words,
well, and you were singing, my friend.
No, I really honestly, I mean, I think it's not so much my singing. I feel that song when I sing it. You know what I mean? You can't help but just get emotional about it. And the older I get, same, like I'm sure for Joni, the older I get, the more it really deepens the meaning. And so I feel like that's the case for everyone who listens to it, And somebody had asked recently on Reddit, in the subreddit, which version of Both Sides Now you prefer, and I was just like, it's not even a contest at this point, 2000 version, I said, but ever since I've been able to see her sing it, like, every time she sings it, that becomes my favorite, because it just seems like every single time I hear her sing it, it gets this, there's a different part of it that like hits me with a different meaning, and just like that word that, Dave used so perfectly, a poignancy, it's just, it's so deep. It's so deep, and you literally feel that vibe, coming from her.
Mm.
And
So
then with
economical.
this, I'm sorry.
So economical, like something's lost and something's gained in living every day. And she even gave her little giggle after she sang that line,
Yeah.
because you've just condensed everything into that one line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the people who like worship at the altar of Joni too, right? Like you have Hillary Clinton literally writing the title of her book,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
based on that line. So,
And named her
um,
daughter after her.
and named her
Yeah.
daughter after someone. So, yeah, I mean, it's, I think the fact that all of the other musicians that were there too are such disciples of Joni also, I think that brought that super level to it, because everyone was just trying to, as Brandy says, impress Joni and not piss her off.
So good.
Well, it's one of the most familiar songs. Practically everybody has heard it. I mean, and they say, "Oh, I love that Judy Collins song," or
Oh,
something like that. But
Lord have mercy.
it is just so familiar, and people just they do love it.
Well, we have reached the end. How long of a break did Joni take between sets?
About
It was like
half
a
an
half
hour.
an hour.
About half hour. Do you guys want to take a break before we go into the second 5 minute, or do you want to keep going?
Keep going.
All right.
Oh, I
Well,
don't know. What's
I'm going to
everybody-
take a break.
All right, we'll take a 5 minute break. Because I guess my uncle's in the hospital, so let me
Bathroom break or whatever.
Yeah. We'll be back at 9:48. See y'all in 5 minutes. All right. Well, we are back, and we are going to talk about the second half of the concert. The concert starts with 3 songs that she had done before. So we have Big Yellow Taxi, Raised on Robbery in California. Was there anything that differentiated these versions from the ones we have seen most recently?
Yeah. California was done by Marcus
Mhm.
Mumford this time.
Yeah,
Okay.
he sang it. She sang with him, but he basically was the lead singer on it.
I actually really loved what he did.
Yeah, he
Okay.
did. I didn't like him at the first one in the Gorge,
I remember that.
but I
What did he sing at the Gorge?
I can't
Carrie.
remember now.
Carrie.
Carrie?
Carrie.
Okay, yeah.
Well, and that's also, it's cute because it's his wife's name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's like my grandmother said, he's full of himself.
Oh. Well, he can be full of me if he wants to. Back to the podcast. So basically, these are the 2 songs. Big Yellow Taxi and Raised on Robbery were the songs that opened the Gorge, weren't they? If I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, John Batiste. Holy shit. I love that guy. He was
Oh
amazing.
yeah, that was really fun. That's right, with John Batiste on the piano with Raised on Robbery.
I know. He was so great.
So after like the heaviness in a beautiful way of the first half, was it a little bit of a celebration to kind of have the sing-alongs in the living room come out?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, and I think it was probably for the people at the Hollywood Bowl that weren't the disciples like us. I think that they were like, "Oh, thank God, I know the words to these songs." And then it got a little bit more like the, maybe not 17,000 people singing along, but a lot more people singing along.
It was like Madonna's Drowned World Tour, where she did like all her deep cuts and like Holiday was at the end. All right. Well, after the trio of opening songs, things did get a little serious with Magdalene Laundries. So definitely not something we heard at the Gorge. This could have fit in the first half of the show. Were you guys really surprised to hear this?
Yeah. Yeah. And she told that great story about hanging out with Hans up in British Columbia. He goes, "Why don't you sing happy song? You're such a happy person. Why don't you sing a happy song?"
She wrote the happy music, right? Then saw a newspaper with the...
Needs to write during the day and not at night.
Exactly, yeah. But that song, oh my
Well,
God.
she came up with she'd already started the music
Mhm.
before she went to the store and saw the
Yeah.
magazine or paper.
Mhm. I love that story when she says that she was sitting in front of the water, and she's listening to the waves and she's tuning her guitar to the waves. Who does that? It's like and it's and if when I first started playing it, um, I would just strum the chord progression over and over again. And it was like a meditation of like, just like rolling waves, it's just really cool.
Now,
But
if am I crazy in remembering? Because I feel like a lot of the songs on Turbulent Indigo were, of course, the acoustic guitar, but didn't Magdalene have more of an electric, almost Hejira-ish sound with the recording? Or am I imagining things?
well, she played the acoustic, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I can't remember what other instrumentation is on the album.
It was really Taming the Tiger where she was playing the damn,
Hmm.
uh, VG8.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And who was it more recently that did just a beautiful version of that song? I know, did Sinead O'Connor do it at one point?
Yeah,
And
she
then
did
Cyndi
it.
Lauper also?
Cyndi Lauper did a beautiful version at the Person of the Year for
Yeah.
the Grammys. Oh my God, it was just
Yeah. It
heartbreaking.
was
Oh my God,
heartbreaking.
so beautiful. Yeah, her voice is amazing.
And earlier we were talking about songs that are, recast in today's time. When you think of how we're, the struggle of women in
Yeah.
2024 and how we looked at women when this song was written, it's haunting.
I
Like,
know, and it's like the stuff that's going on now. I mean, people are dying. People
yeah,
are dying, and they're women.
I
And it's
really
like,
thought that we were gonna either win or yeah, win.
oh yeah,
You
like
know,
everybody would come out and just
Be-
put their
because
foot down.
because women were really excited about this
Hmm. Yeah,
election, that
exactly. But that's why I said, I go, okay, not only did well, you know what did happen, which I'm grateful for, and this happened in New York, is that all the propositions that brought back abortion to the states passed. Most of them did. Like in New York, we had a proposition to keep abortion legal,
Yeah,
so
we had the same in
that
Colorado.
passed. But the whole thing with what's happening in other states where it's illegal
here in
is
Florida,
like horrific. It's like medieval.
we lost. But the thing that sucks, and they don't say this on the news, is there's a weird loophole in Florida. You have to have 60% vote for something to
Right.
pass, and it was like 58%. So more of Florida is on what I consider the right side of things. But like,
You have the 60%? What?
yeah,
Who the fuck came? I bet
well,
you they
that's
try it's like
DeSantis.
gerrymandering on a proposition.
yep.
Oh my good God.
But in
Besides,
a way, I think that actually hurt Kamala. If they didn't have that option, if those propositions weren't there, because there were a lot of women who voted for that proposition, but then turned around
Right,
and voted for Trump.
right.
That maybe if they didn't have an option, they wouldn't have voted for Trump. Be-
Well, we don't know what's going to happen with the abortion drug. I don't know what
yeah,
that,
because
that
Kennedy's going to be in charge of the FDA or whatever, right?
yeah. But
And Casey
that
Anthony's in charge of
judge
the.
in Texas that
You can bring it back whenever you want,
Well,
Jeremy.
I mean, it's just,
This could
so
go
here's
on
the thing.
I
forever.
know.
Are we gonna have Magdalene Laundries? Because it seems like, maybe obviously Magdalene Laundries being in Ireland is very Catholic, but a lot of those same themes that she talks about in there are certainly things that are very, uh Gil how is Galadian? I don't
Yeah,
know how
Galilean, right? Yeah, from
Galadian,
Margaret
right?
Atwood. Yeah,
Yeah, like
What's that show?
Gileadian.
Handmaid's Tale.
But
Yeah,
like
Handmaid's Tale. Yep.
it's really it's terrifying. I mean, I think I feel very lucky in the fact that I'm not in danger of, having children. But I fear for all of my friends, and I fear for women in general that they seem to like everyone seems to be very keen on giving women or taking away women's voices again.
And
And that's what happens in this song, women they're dismissed completely.
and I didn't mean to almost take away your voice, ironically, but um, we came so far with the Me Too movement and stuff, and I almost feel like we went this far, then we had to backpedal, like always the balance of the scales. But I was thinking, I sometimes I drive to Alabama to visit some family and friends, and there's just this building I passed that was always so scary to me. And I found out it was like a school or a place where people were tortured, and not even that was only like 100 years ago. So like,
Yeah.
how bad? And Joni's such an eloquent lyricist, but then just they stuffed her in a hole. That is just so
At least
intentionally
some
barbaric.
bells should ring.
At least some bells should ring. Oh, I almost want to start crying. Ugh, this world. That's why I always make jokes, because I'm in so much pain inside that I just laughing it all away.
That was a good Joni lyric for stuff.
Just call me Patty Parlett coming up with the Joni lyrics. Shout out to okay. So Magdalene Laundry's the live version, Haunting, right? All right.
Another song I never thought I would hear live.
Yeah. All right. Let's hope that we do not go back there.
The Bloodless Brides of Jesus. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Just once glimpsed their groom.
as you say, Jahida, it was specifically referring to the Catholics in Ireland, but how different is it from the Bible Belt here?
Yeah.
Nope. I mean,
And didn't that exist also up in Canada? Wasn't there like Magdalene Laundries up in Canada as
Enid
well?
was talking about it.
Yeah.
She said that they
Yes.
just uncovered some graves up there.
Yeah, and the reservation schools are really
yeah, I was going to say, I mean,
similar.
obviously, yeah, that's all tied in,
And
right?
and her experience as a pregnant, unwed pregnant woman in what 64 maybe. So I mean, you were saying 100 years ago. It's like, well, it's more like, well, actually, time passes on. So 80 years ago, the 60s,
But I think about that. That was only 11 years before I was born. That the world was like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I propose that we all vow to check in on each other and take care of each other and stay alert and stay aware. Because I put that post up on Facebook, and if people are upset that this is turning into a little political, you're in the wrong podcast, because this is just how the music moves us.
Joni is
But-
inherently political.
Right.
Yes.
But she just says it,
Says it.
She'll just come out and say these things, and I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's because, and not just that, obviously she wrote these things in the 80s, but, or I guess this one was in the 90s, but,
Yeah.
But it's because of the fact that she did grow up in an area where, in a time where women didn't have the voice we do now. And, she was always a little rebel.
Yeah.
When she's, smoking cigarettes with a cowgirl jeans, and like she said, right, she didn't want to be Dale Evans, she wanted to be Roy Rogers.
Right.
So she was always the I wouldn't say she's a contrarian. She just she didn't never seem to be afraid to speak. But I guarantee, like, there were moments where she felt silenced, and I know, I would imagine so with her pregnancy and everything and not knowing what to do and all these things, she probably did to some extent feel like, she was unable to, simply because of her status, and
Yeah.
a single mother, and then eventually got to a point where she just realized, like, it wasn't the right time. And so the same thing with, having friends like Cherokee Louise, right? Having friends who were, indigenous, and seeing the way that they were treated as well, and mistreated, so to speak, and truly they were less than, just like how we did here as well. But having those, two the two uh groups have in common is religion,
Hmm.
and religion saying we know what's best for you, when in fact it was the opposite of what is best for people. So yeah, I think it's very interesting that Joni has a lot of religious uh imagery and a lot of religious, like, it lyrical, like, pieces in her music, because she sort of seems to be conflicted a lot with the idea of embracing certain aspects of religion, Corinthians and love and stuff like that. And then really just sort of, I'm trying to find the right word, but just saying uh, how horrid religion is in the grand scheme of things for people, and how many terrible things have been done in the name of religion, in the name of God, when God, themselves may very well, one day, I pray one day, if God is real, God comes down and goes, y'all really have been fucking up, and I'm going to tell you all about it. You have twisted all of my words. Okay.
Well, when you think of the trajectory of Joni, she went from Love Corinthians to Tax Free from one album to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Both the flip sides of religion.
Yeah.
Mm.
That dichotomy of man, right?
Yeah.
The I love God and I curse God.
Well, this is making me think, a song like Cherokee Louise or Magdalene, to me, is right up there with the strongest writing of her career. So I'm curious what Randy and all the young musicians, they knew the blues songs. I wonder if they just fell in love with this material like we always have. Like, they must have. I mean, how can you not? This is some of the best writing of all time. All right.
Remember that Brandy only discovered Joni about 7 or 8 years ago.
Right.
Right.
Crazy.
And she kind of wrote her off because of All I Want,
Right.
Her wife really kind of is the one that kind of pushed it, right?
Didn't she like say to her, like, if you like, this is a deal breaker. You either get her or
I don't know if I can be with someone.
Something that oh, do we freeze? Are you guys still with me?
could you the Road to Joni when they were interviewing like, could you imagine, like, oh, I just heard this amazing artist, and then the next year you're like, and there she is on stage with me. Oh my God.
And Brandy,
Go to the back of the line. We're ahead of you, girl.
in Brandy's defense, I feel like in real time we watched her, discover and learn about Joni Mitchell with her in her life. So I don't know. Of course, I understood Blue before I understood Don Juan's Reckless Daughter. It only took me a couple months, but
The next thing you know, Brandy's taking Joni in her boat up to a
I know.
waterfall.
I love that story.
I love the video. All right. Well, then, after on Magdalene, our friend Annie Lennox comes out, who I'm doing a podcast on tomorrow night. We love Annie. Ladies of the Canyon. Summertime and Coming from the Cold. So is there anything very different about these versions than the Gorge ones?
Too much.
No.
There was a really nice arrangement. The band had a really cool arrangement. The keyboard parts, especially for Ladies of the Canyon. I hadn't been to the Gorge, so I hadn't heard this before if they did it, but it was nicely done. And Annie Lennox has got to be close to 80 herself, high 70s, I would think.
I
How old
think,
is she?
being an Annie fan, I think
Fact check it.
But
69.
her voice sounds, how much?
69.
Oh, she's only 69.
Yeah.
Her voice sounds really good.
Beautiful.
Kind of great.
Powerful, really powerful.
I believe that arrangement of Ladies of the Canyon Annie recorded it for her album Medusa and ended up releasing it as a B-side. So I think that arrangements is
Oh, it's hers.
yeah, it's
I have the cassette still, or the single.
the single. Wasn't it a B-side to like No More I Love Yous?
Yes, that's
Yep.
and so I got it for that when that came out, and then that was on the other side. And I remember like I didn't actually when I got it, I didn't even know Joni yet.
So yes, I think that arrangement's in the spirit of Annie's recorded version from 1994 or 5.
No, wasn't it earlier than that?
Well, Diva was 92, and then Medusa was I think 95. We'll find out. Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, I thought it was 92. If it was 94, then I did know who Joni was, but I don't think I knew that was Joni's song. Let me see. I'll find out.
All right, perfect.
Here's a little trivia tidbit. She and
you're right, 94.
And Joe Jackson met at the Royal College of Music.
Ooh.
And went on to have non-classical careers, but they were both kind of prodigies. Joe Jackson on piano, and I'm not sure about Annie, maybe voice, and but anyway, they met as students in London.
Well, Annie
Joe Jackson, that's one of my favorite songs. Stepping Out. I love that song.
Because the early Eurythmics shows, Annie Lennox played flute on a lot of songs. So I wonder if she went to school for the flute.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Rick Wakeman also went to the Royal College of Music. That was nowadays you're spoiled for choice for music schools, but in the 70s that wasn't the case. If you were unless you were studying classical music, there was nowhere to go.
And I think that's when she started out dating Dave Stewart, right?
Yeah.
They like started dating and then decided to do. I think they decided to do Eurythmics after they split. They probably realized, like, you know what, we work really well together musically.
Because they were in the band The Tourists together originally.
So, but yeah, you're right. I guess I just didn't realize that was like a Joni song or something. I don't know. Maybe I did.
It sounded so different than Joni's.
We are talking 30 years ago. So
if it's something that is associated with a single, we are definitely dating ourselves. Was there ever a Joni Mitchell single? I don't think there ever was. There was some promo CD singles of some of the Night Ride Home stuff, but we already talked about that. All right, A Case of You was next. How was this version?
You skipped Coming from the Cold.
Oh, Coming from the Cold. How was that version?
That was great. You know, the guy from Dawes, I think, suggested. I was listening to the one of those podcasts.
Oh, I know the story you're talking about.
And he started wanting to play this at the Joni Jam, and they loved it. You know.
Oh yeah.
It was, you know, and so when they play it together, it's like so cool because you could tell they're all into it. You know?
And wasn't it the first song that she at the jams where she actually picked up a guitar?
Yep.
And started playing.
Who was it? Somebody bought it for her. Was it
Kathy Bates?
Kathy Bates? Yeah, that's right.
How do I know this? Where does
didn't Brandy try to tune it and Joni slapped her hand?
Yeah. I love that.
Isn't it cool though that Coming from the Cold's kind of the song that did have her come in from the cold?
Yeah.
Brandy tried to take the guitar away from her because Joni had said, "I never want to touch a guitar again."
Okay.
And so here's Kathy Bates not knowing this, handing her her guitar, and Brandy was going to take it away from her, and Joni slapped her hand.
Oh. And she's back.
If I was Kathy Bates or Brandy Carlisle, like I would literally we would look at each other and be like, like secretly, good job.
Yeah,
it worked.
Would you say that everything that's happened all goes back to that moment too, in a way? I mean, I wonder if Kathy never brought that guitar, we would have the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Wow. Chaos theory.
Yeah. Kathy Bates, she's the best. She's the primal force.
And you know when I remember the first time I heard the Newport recordings. I was out in Plant City, Florida. I was shopping at the Dollar Tree looking for Berenstain Bear stuff. I went to Charlie's Cheesesteak, but I know this is a stupid story. But then I pulled over and I heard they did Coming from the Cold there, which is a deeper cut, and I just couldn't believe it. And here we are a few years later. It just has kept growing and growing and getting better and better. So I always loved the song. Sue was standing next to me when I freaking lost it to this. This is the one that I fell apart during at the Gorge. And
So cool.
Which one?
Coming from the Cold.
I remember, Sue, you did that at Ruby Lake.
Yeah, we
When-
did it
when-
with all the singers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool because it was a very organic thing. You know, it started and then we started singing, and then Steve Polifka went to the piano and he just brought it together. You know, it was really cool the way it happened. You know,
Who else? So Jahida sang on that with
Yeah.
you, and Kimberly.
and Kimberly was there.
Yeah.
And,
We were all up there.
Megs and Lucy and all these
Yeah.
people. Yeah, it was great.
It's
And
a
that's
song I think that's held up very well. You know that, when it first came out, it was like a great song, but compared to some of her earlier stuff, it seemed more lightweight or whatever, and yet it's really, I don't know, it's lasted the test of time. I think it's a really nice song.
beautiful lyrics too. And this is what
Good
this is
lyrics.
what started to unfreeze me on Brandy is when at Newport when she was singing the echo lines. I'm like, that's a pretty deep dive to know the echo lines to come in from the cold. And I loved the music video back in the day. I had that VHS of the Coming from the Cold, the videos from
Doing
Night
her
Ride.
little shimmy.
Yeah, the little shimmy.
Oh.
All right. So, any further thoughts on Coming from the Cold? A Case of You. How was this version?
I was this was another one that got me crying. And I have to say the piano player was pianist Taylor Mackle was he was amazing. Like he was not too much, again, like Abe Brown's, right? Like it wasn't the Jacob Collier showboating. Let me play every note on the piano. But it was
harmonize all the chords.
yeah, exactly. It was just like respectful, but really brought, like, it was tender, and it was really, really masterful, honestly. And you can feel the love for the song through his playing, honestly. It was something where you just sat there and you were like, oh my God, this is his moment, like, for him, not just for us, for him. He is a pig in shit right now, and it's just, and I had the good fortune the second night to actually be sitting next to Alex
Elijah Wood?
No. Alex Schulman, who is very good friends with Taylor. And we were just telling him, like, because I was sitting with Les as well, and we were just telling him, like, how great he was. And if you could, like tell your friend Taylor, like, we were, like, we give you big seal of approval to
Called approved.
Enthusiastic thumbs
Called
up.
approved.
And he said, yeah, he was really, like, nervous about it because it was a big deal for him. And it showed in in his playing, like, that it was a very personal piece for him. So that was my take. I thought it was wonderful.
So I feel like A Case of You can go either way. Either the whole amphitheater can be singing along, or you could hear a pin drop. Which one was it?
Pin drop.
See, that's an awesome crowd. Because couldn't you imagine just everyone drowned out Joni and everyone was there to hear her? That's so cool. Ooh.
Yeah, imagine pulling off an intimate song with 18,000 people and Because back in when she did when she was trying to do Isle of Wight,
Hmm.
her and the piano or her and the guitar, and there's all these rowdy, Brits and throwing bottles and stuff. She was just, she managed to kind of wrangle it around a little bit, but basically, crowds don't generally work with intimate music, but she has earned the right at this point in her life to have reverence from every person in the audience, and when we worked with Max Bennett too, and he was talking about going on the road with her, he said that we weren't used to audiences that were so quiet. They would just listen. They would hang on every word, and we were just used to audiences sort of talking while we played, but Joni would come on, and you could hear a pin drop, and he said that was really a very dramatic kind of moment for them to LA Express guys to witness, how much respect that she commanded back in '74.
It's interesting, and this is jumping ahead, but when we listen to Archives 4, those audiences were thrilled to hear new material. Like they were eating it up. Sorry, Sue, did I interrupt you?
No, it's all right. I was just gonna say you're acting like tourists, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she didn't have to say that this time.
No.
Well, I mean, she did. She got that audience though. In
Yeah.
the end,
Yeah.
Yeah, they shut up.
yeah, yeah, and she looked pretty happy
Yeah.
at the end too.
So
All
are
right.
Brits typically loud and hellraisers?
Brits? Oh,
Yeah.
they're hideous.
Really? Okay.
People think of Brits as polite and
Yeah, kind of posh.
That's Brits of the 1930s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, these guys were all on acid, so that was the problem.
Well,
On
speaking of Brits, there's a couple songwriters, someone named Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Is that how you say his name? Someone asked Joni Mitchell to sing one of their songs. She's like, I got the lyrics, boys.
Yeah. Every time I tell people this story, I'm like, you could not be more Joni than saying like, oh, you're getting an award for your brilliant songwriting. Okay, I'll do this song, but I'm writing all new lyrics. And then they're tickled pink about it. They're
Yeah,
like,
right.
yes, we love this.
Now her
Joni can get away with that shit, really.
her new lyrics do have that Joni Mitchell thing. I'd like to see her record a version of this. Might take a little.
I want to
A little-
record a version.
What do you guys think of her lyrics compared to the original? I looked at them side by side. They are a lot different.
Perfect. I'm a little biased, but it's perfect to me.
I haven't forgiven Elton John for calling Madonna a fairground stripper, so I'm still mad at him.
When the hell did he say that?
2012.
I mean, it's not surprising. He kind of strikes me as he'd be a little bit of a catty bitch.
What's the awards where you win for having a song in a movie?
Well,
I don't
it's like
Best song?
that song?
Oscar?
No,
Yeah.
it was something else.
Oscars?
But Madonna was nominated for her song Masterpiece, and Elton John was being snarky, and then she won the award. So this all happened in one evening. But back to Joni. Elton John came on stage, and he just sat there. He had a microphone, but did he actually do anything?
No.
But apparently he was ill. So otherwise he might have played the piano.
that would have been great.
Well, definitely a legendary moment, and once again, a testament to Joni that freaking Sir Elton John, he's like, I'll just go sit on the stage with Meryl
He's
Streep.
next to Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep, yeah.
I saw a video of Jacob Collier a couple of days later talking about the experience of doing those shows. And he said for him and John Batiste, having Elton John right in front of them while they're playing the piano was really nerve-wracking.
Oh my goodness.
They both have huge respect for him as a pianist.
Yeah.
There was a cute Instagram video that Brandy posted of them all doing I'm Still Standing backstage, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that
With
was cute.
Chapel Roan. I'm like, get out of here. You're not on that level yet.
You know what I really would love, absolutely love to hear Elton John do is Raised on Robbery.
Oh. And no offense to Chapel. I don't know much about her, so I'm not gonna dog her. But um oh, Brandy's little things that she put on Instagram about all the band members too, I think are worth checking out. So
Oh yeah, that was lovely.
yeah, I mean, she's cool, man. I said it here. All right.
She's absolutely like a musician's musician.
Yep.
You know, you could tell she really she loves what she does and she loves who she does it with.
Yep. Those testimonials were beautiful. So if you're a fan of Joni in this concert, definitely go check that out. Okay. So you're sitting in the audience, you hear Coming from the Cold, then A Case of You, then I'm Still Standing, then Dog Eat Dog starts. So tell me your first reaction. Dog Eat Dog. Like what
Oh
what
my
happened?
God. I love Joni Mitchell.
Yeah,
It's like, what the hell?
you go, Joni.
It's dog eat
I'm
dog.
gonna show them. I'm gonna sing Dog Eat Dog.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The band was
And while I'm at it, I'm gonna say fuck Trump.
the band really did great with it, and the backup singers nailed all of her parts just right. So it was very dramatic.
Yeah, it was really great.
Do you feel this would have been a more successful album had it been recorded more like it was performed here than the Thomas Dolby?
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember that Thomas Dolby was the hippest thing around in 1985, and they were entranced by what he did, and this was the era of Dream of the Blue Turtles. It was Peter Gabriel.
So
Everything. Well, so I think was 87, or 86, but the Fairlight was the happening instrument at that
Yeah.
year.
Hounds of Love,
If you
Kate
could, if
Bush.
you could afford
I
one,
was just thinking that too, Hounds of Love.
they were like $150,000 to buy, or more than that, something like that. And so it was only the elite star musicians could even afford to use one. And
really off on my years today. Yeah, you're right. It was 86.
uh, and so Larry Klein, I think, was the one that was probably fascinated by this instrument and said, "Why don't we got to do this? Just this is the happening sound." But they to actually learn how to use the Fairlight would take years. So they brought in somebody who was already an expert, and the problem started after that. But Thomas Dolby certainly was an expert.
Well, that's what they get for bringing in those shiny toys.
But you know, the MTV era and everything, Joni wasn't really made for that era. You know, and her sound. The thing that we like about her sound is that it's so authentic. And so when you're using that much synthesis, it's kind of the opposite of authentic. It's ersatz or mechanical. And I happen to like it, but it doesn't wear well.
Yeah.
You know, when she went back to playing guitar on Night Ride Home, it was kind of, now she's back to doing what she does well.
Right.
But I could understand why she spent the decade trying to find a fan base again after Mingus. You know, that she was warned. They said, don't do it, Joni, but she did it. And sure enough, she lost all her fans. And
No.
well, she lost a lot of fans. But
Not us.
she had to rebuild her sound to try to be part of the 80s, and that was a whole different world in the 80s.
I think there was a struggle for a lot of the late 70s. Like, you know, Linda Ronstadt had a couple new wave albums, and she did the big band stuff. Carly Simon had a new wave album, then she had a pop album that was bad. Then she went adult contemporary with Coming Around Again, and that was her comeback because she softened her sound again. But
It
Joni,
is crazy though because she's so visual, right?
Yeah.
Like you would think that she would have been pretty tailor-made for MTV movie, music
She
videos.
did a few, in My Secret Place and so on. And
Dancing clowns.
Aren't they? They're just like in a white room, aren't they?
They're walking on the beach.
It's just two great rooms, and
If you all are saying that that video for Dancing Clown was not a masterpiece, then
it was all the SPCA.
One thing that, especially based on the Archives Volume 4, is I am hoping there are a lot of acoustic demos for the Dog Eat Dog material that I think could be just like staggeringly great
oh yeah.
if they exist.
I think you mean 5, Jack. We have 4 already.
Oh, yeah, 5.
Yeah.
But based on the demos from 4 is what I was trying to say.
Okay.
If I didn't say it right.
Well, could be she did that version of Dreamland.
Yeah.
Is that on the 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've heard Joni play the Dog Eat Dog tunes on the piano, just piano and voice. Those have been around for years.
What song did she do? There's a piano version of Good Friends, correct? One of Dog Eat Dog.
3 great stimulants.
The Stimulants.
I think what's the last
Ethiopia.
tune? Impossible Dreamer.
Impossible Dream. All right. Well, after Dog Eat Dog, I know Sue just fell apart hearing Amelia live.
So beautiful. It was amazing.
Did you just look up in the sky? I'm sure you just like
Yeah, I mean, by that time the stars were out. I think I can't remember if we saw stars that night, but
But there was a bit of a problem, actually, if we remember, on the Sunday night anyway, that the guitarist began the intro and Joni didn't come in.
oh right, I remember
And
that.
the guitarist kind of looked like, oh, what are we doing? Brandy said, do it over, and like talk. And so he started the intro again, and Joni still didn't quite come in on cue, and she eventually found her way in, but it was a bit of a train wreck, actually.
Yeah, right.
and that's why Brandy is a good kind of like ringleader on the stage to keep things,
Yeah. Mm.
There were
Totally
very few tech problems, but that was one of them.
And Sue, did that happen the other night? Do you happen to remember? Or is that specific to Sunday?
I was thinking of Saturday, I guess. I didn't remember that part on Sunday.
Well, Michael Williams, is that his
Yeah.
name?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Michael.
he said, now I don't know which night, but he said that on Amelia that she came in a half a step higher. Was it higher?
Whole step in.
Or whole step higher? But
Oh.
on Sunday, when she did come in, she was in the right key.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of drifted up a little bit and then came back, but she entered Amelia in the right key.
But it's written into the song that the key modulates up a whole step right when the vocal enters. So that's actually part of the composition.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Well, once again, showing that Joni knows best.
Yeah.
So
I think that Joni has such a good ear. Like maybe I don't know whether all these harmonies that she put in, or where the backup singers sang the melody and she added a harmony. But I bet she could do that without even rehearsing. I think she's
just
got
off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so too.
And Brandy was really watching Joni.
Mm-hmm.
So, to match her.
Right.
at
Yeah, I
times.
noticed that.
I mean, you can do that if you're looking at somebody,
Mhm.
it's impressive to do that after also drinking wine.
Yeah. That's true. They were both drinking wine during that.
Because we don't know how, if she didn't drink wine on the first set, but you don't know what happened at the break.
Oh.
We'd all be in the back, in the green room, living it up.
Well, the first night she was drinking,
Yeah,
but
she
during the
was.
first set.
Yeah, she
But I
had-
didn't see her drink on our night we went, and
Yeah,
until
and then
the second
and on
set.
top of that, it's white wine, which I don't know about y'all, but I can't do white wine. It instantly goes to my head.
Joni was
So
getting wild. She might have had a little money riding on the maple leaves also. So.
yeah, I'm just always impressed. That's why I'm like, if I'm performing, I do not drink until my last couple of, songs because otherwise I don't remember things. I can't remember lyrics. It just goes right to my head. So I just decide like, nope, not gonna do it. But yeah, I guess Joni's had practice. She was and
"17
she was doing a
glasses."
lot worse back in the day. So
Help her. I mean, maybe it kind of can loosen you up.
yeah.
She's like, if I can survive Rolling Thunder, I can survive anything.
Well, exactly. I wouldn't have survived Rolling Thunder. You could.
Well, she doesn't have to remember lyrics anymore because they've got screens all across the
Yeah,
front of the
right.
stage.
Well, for
Well,
all her
one.
various ailments, she must have a really strong constitution.
Yeah, you would
Or,
think.
or for
Well, what is
sure,
it she says,
her
right?
will, her will is incredible.
She
How
says,
do
"I'm
you, how
hard
do
to
you
discourage
survive
and
two
harder to
aneurysms?
kill."
All
You
right,
know.
so the next two songs of the show, we only have three left. She winds things up with two songs from the Shine album, which is kind of cool if we're going through a chronological of Joni. If now when we saw If at the Gorge, she did play the guitar, and then of course Shine, I feel like has really uh, revealed itself to be an important Joni Mitchell composition with all the versions that Brandy's done. Well, not she did the one version, but all the versions Joni has done at the Gorge, she did at Newport, right? And then this version. How were these versions of If and Shine?
Well, I really like it.
Right here.
You didn't like it?
No, I really like If.
Yeah, she
Oh,
did shine at Newport.
Okay.
And I thought, yeah, Shine. I mean, it just every time you hear, because it's a long song, you know what I mean? And so, um, and I think the first time that I ever really like paid attention deeply to the lyrics, and I think it's because, I mean, don't hate me, but it has taken me more time to warm up to her later albums, and really like give them deep listens than it was, say, like Hajira, you know what I mean, or Hissing or something like that. Because uh, Shine didn't hit me as deeply as it did until we were in Charmouth.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
like not only just hearing all of you guys and having to listen to it because I was trying to like coordinate everybody, you know what I mean? But also just hearing the delivery from everyone else, and seeing how did they approach that lyric. And that is where all of a sudden, like especially certain lyrics really deepened for me,
Okay.
and now I can't listen to Seekers of Mental Health without hearing um Anita, Steph, and Jude together. You know what I mean? Like I can't take those things out. So um hearing it at the show and and hearing Joni, but and also having heard Brandy, I really it's very interesting to hear what lyrics they kind of
Yep.
like grasp onto really deeply, and which ones that like that aren't just like the recording, right? That they like they kind of personalize with their way they phrase it and the way that they like give certain words deep, depth and weight. It is absolutely, I think, um, like Brandy said, it's a modern day hymn.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, I think if there's justice in the world, then hundreds of years from now a song like that is going to be seen as a a hymn for the 21st century.
I
Jeff.
really liked her version, Brandy's version, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
She
this
brought
song
out the
first
soulfulness in it.
Yeah.
the song first came out, I had a problem with it because I didn't understand where she's shining a light on good stuff and equally bad stuff. It was very confusing how she intermixed, you know, and then it took me a while to realize that it's important to do both,
Yeah.
to expose the bad shit, but at the same time, constantly shining a light on the good in the world. And it took me a while to really kind of understand that. And until I did, I kind of struggled with this song. But once I did, it's really beautiful. And her performance of it at the Gorge was just, it was like a religious experience. It was
Yeah.
really, really neat. Um,
Especially when everybody comes in and sings like the all together, right?
Oh yeah.
Jack, maybe if you substituted bless or honor these things, these people, that it would make more sense than shine, because shine sounds like you're exposing something by putting the light on it. But the feeling I get from it, it's more like bless this, bless that, bless these, bless them, and or honor this, honor that. Maybe if you just substituted the word, it would kind of.
yeah, but there's things that you don't want to bless, like
Asshole.
the asshole turning,
Passing on the right.
passing on the.
Yeah, but that's
Go,
all.
Joni.
To her, it's probably all part of acceptance, and maybe that's what
Right.
shine means.
But that's where I originally struggled. It's like I don't get it. Why is she saying, shine on this, because it's a
Maybe it's
beautiful.
her way of saying bless your heart.
Or let's take a look at this asshole passing on the right.
Yeah.
Like
You know,
light is
not-
disinfectant in a way.
And, not to go too deep into it, but maybe if you're shining a light on that asshole, maybe you'll see what's underneath and what's really hurting him too, and find the beauty in all the ugly.
That could be.
Did If hit any differently with her just singing it as opposed to having to concentrate on the guitar? No.
Not to me. I just
Playing
think that,
guitar, though, what a magic moment that was.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
We almost fell over because we saw Joni play the guitar at Newport, but to have her play and sing.
Yeah.
I think "If" was the tune where Jacob Collier and John Batiste were both four hands on the piano, and they were they were really having fun because they were really laying this groove in hard, but also trying to ornament and get out of each other's way. But it was four hands on the piano, and they were loving it.
Were there
it's really fun to look at.
So were there three pianists on the stage? Because was Lisa playing piano also, or was she?
No, there was a piano, a grand piano, and a
keyboard
and a synth rig or keyboard rig. Usually, so one would be on one would be on the other. But on that tune, they both got on the piano.
Okay.
Yeah, there were multiple piano players, but only them on that. But I do. Oh, sorry. Hold on. What are those? Okay. Sorry, it was my roommate. I do think that they were it was really genius of whoever was the camera person to have that overhead shot so that we could see what was happening, when they were both, doing the acrobatics on the piano. It was
You
really
got to remember they were also playing for Elton.
True. Sir Elton. Well, the concert wrapped up with Circle Game, and I'm sure when you all were there, it was bittersweet that the concert was coming to an end. But I'm sure it was a moment to share that space together and Did it feel like a good way to wrap everything up?
Yeah, definitely.
And that was, of course, a sing along with 18,000 people singing it, and everyone knows the words.
All those lights, cell
Yeah.
phones, and
Yeah, it was beautiful.
boy, the people at the back of they were so far away. I mean, I don't even think there were screens that far back, were
No, I
there?
don't think so. No.
It was like looking at a town where the whole town has come out for something.
Wow. Yeah, it was amazing.
It
But
was
then
really
a few days later, I heard Kamala had a rally of 70,000. So that can you imagine how big 70,000 people must look? Because we just saw what 18,000 looked like.
I have been to a place with that many, yeah, because I've been to festivals. So yeah, I remember going to Oswego in 1999, and there were 75,000 people there.
Wow.
And they were talking about how we were, I think at the moment, because it was Oswego, New York, I think we were the third largest city of them at that moment in New York.
I went
And
to see the Stones once in 1978 or so at Nebworth Festival, and it was, I think, 275,000. I mean, not quite Woodstock, but on the way, and it was vast. And I, of course, thought, well, I'll just move forward just because it'll be really good to see the band up close. And so I'm tennis ball distance from the stage, and then when the Stones comes on, the entire crowd starts shoving forward, and the bouncers are trying to save people's lives as they're about to get crushed against the barriers, and they were like lifting people up to save them from being killed. And yeah, that was a lesson learned, that when you're in that many people, expect to die.
And if you have to pee, forget it, because there's no way you're gonna.
Pee where you stand.
But how many people at the Isle of Wight? There were a lot of people
It was
there.
about that.
Wow.
yeah, I was just realizing I had gone I think the weekend after I went to Oswego. When I was 19, I don't know what I was thinking, but I went to Woodstock 99. Had to hitchhike home for that one, but that was 220,000 people. So yeah, I didn't even dare to go near the stage though. There was no way, especially, I mean, people were getting like hit with,
Ooh.
or there were water bottles that people put rocks in them and were
God.
like tossing the water
Jeez.
bottles, and people were getting slammed in the head with
Mm.
like, yeah, that was insane. That it was definitely chaos. Not very Woodstock like.
Well, when you think about the circle game, the song certainly came a long way from the Lookout Mountain Choir that it started with, because they had the Hollywood Bowl Choir.
Yeah.
So we covered the
Didn't you
concert.
say it was supposed to be sung with out-of-tune voices too?
Yeah.
So it works out.
What do you think is next for Joni? I mean, I know we have Archives 5. We had the Gorge, and when the Gorge happened, I remember we all thought like, "Oh, Hollywood Bowl might be next." I remember that conversation happening. Do we have any thoughts on what if there's another? I would love a Red Rocks.
Isn't there Joni Jazz or something? Hasn't Sam Smith talked about that Archives 5 isn't next on the list, that there's something called
Joni's Jazz. She did mention that in the liner notes too.
Mm.
I don't know what that means.
Think there'll be another live concert of Joni Mitchell, or do you think this was her finale of performing?
I got a
As long as
feeling
she stays healthy. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
And it may not even be Joni stuff. It may be jazz that she likes, kind of like that Starbucks thing that she put out a while back.
But this show took 6 months of work to put together. That to do even something along those lines would really be far into the future.
Right. Because Bless Brandy's hard for taking 6 months out of her life when she's doing her own career. I don't think this is something that could happen every year.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing more to prove. Joni has won all the accolades and all the awards there are to win, except the Nobel Prize, and for literature,
time.
which
That's
she should
next.
Well, the expectation would be pretty high because she wouldn't go back to the Newport, or even the Gorge, just doing a few songs by herself.
Right.
I mean, you can't
She
go back to that.
she
You have
she
to.
scanned her entire catalog for this weekend.
And she really would need a full band with backup singers and.
What I would love to see is if because they have been doing this recently, if they release this in the movie theaters. If they taped it, then
Like they
released
did with
it.
Joni 75.
Yep, and then like Stevie
They
Nicks
would
is
have done
24
that like a live simulcast. I mean, they did that for Brandy when she did that show in the Hollywood Hills or wherever that was, or no, up in San Francisco.
So if they do show this at the movies, let's all meet it in a movie theater somewhere. All right. Well, any other final thoughts from our participants who were at the concert or wished they were at the concert?
I know.
Yeah. So what about like one of the strongest memories I have of the Gorge was actually after the concert, and they were playing something off of Court and Spark over the PA system as the crowds were filtering out.
Wasn't it Down to You?
I think it was maybe.
Yep.
And this like 20-year-old girl was standing next to me in the aisle, and the two of us just had our arms around each other and were swaying and singing Down to You at the top of our lungs. And it just summed up the whole vibe of the evening. And I was wondering if there were any like post-concert special things that happened in Hollywood.
Well, there were buskers lining the way to the car park. There were buskers playing Coyote and through their battery powered amps, and I think even Enid set up to do that.
Yeah, she did.
So right after you've seen the real thing, let's let's watch a cover.
Yeah, and then we went back to the hotel, and Paz was organizing us to have a jam in the lobby, and the hotel manager went wild. He was so pissed off at us.
Oh,
Yeah, really yelled at.
Got yelled at, yeah. And so then he goes, "Okay, then we'll sing out on the street." So
That was the second night. Yeah, that was the second night.
I was like, "Oh my
The first night we were up, we started out downstairs next to the like to the entrance,
Yeah.
and we got kicked out of there. So we're like, fine, we'll go upstairs. So we went upstairs, and then we got kicked out of there at some point. We're like, that's why we called it the Quiet Riot.
Yeah, right.
oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I mean, people were loving. There were people that were just there, like hanging out,
Hanging out,
wanted to
listening.
listen to us.
Well, you're not the first cult to get kicked out of LA, so
Did you go back to anybody's room and keep?
Yeah, I mean that could have happened. I don't know why they didn't want. There were
I
a
think
lot of
we
people
didn't
who
want
wanted
to.
to play.
Yeah, I don't think we wanted to go into the rooms because it would have been louder for whoever's around us,
sure.
as opposed to, be all the way downstairs. It just didn't make any sense
Well, it would
whatsoever.
have been nice if we could have went on the roof where the pool was.
Yeah.
That would have been nice.
See, I remember after the Gorge sitting in that kitchen, and then the Runkles came, and we were just like, and we experienced that night ride home through the damn mountains.
I was driving.
Yeah, you were a great driver, Sue, considering the terrain.
All right.
But
That's me, designated driver.
DD, baby. Well, friends, thank you for sharing your memories and your experience. My FOMO is worse than ever.
I was gonna say I actually knew, and I mentioned it. After the concert on Saturday, I was walking along the way out, and someone next to me, I don't know how we started talking. She told us about Elton John and Meryl Streep. So we knew.
Oh, okay.
I was like, how do you have this inside info? She's like, I just know.
Oh.
Don't want to explain why, but I mentioned it to, I remember saying it to everybody, and because everyone I think has been was burnt out on Paul McCartney and all
Oh,
that.
Janet Jackson, Paul McCartney,
Yeah,
and Janet.
everyone was they were like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. But then it actually happened, and I was like, ha ha, vindication.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah.
So, does anybody know who's going to play the young Joni in the?
I haven't heard yet.
You know who I think it should be is Meryl's daughter. Mamie Gummer, I think is her last name.
Yeah.
Because she looks like her. She's a great actress. I mean, she's not Meryl, but she's damn good. And yeah, I think she looks the part and everything. So
But doesn't she need to sing
I don't know.
ever? Because
I don't know.
Meryl can sing.
Yeah, and which makes me wonder if maybe Mamie can sing too. I don't know. I don't think she's ever played a part yet where she has to, so
That'd be a challenging part, doing young Joni singing.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd be hard to.
Absolutely.
There was that TV series where Elvis's daughter had to sing, or granddaughter, that Daisy Jones.
Riley Keough.
Yeah, and she did a good job.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I realized too that the video that I was talking about earlier, I'm all jumbled today, I guess, but I'm tired from working. I'm long-term subbing again, so I'm exhausted. But the video I was thinking of was not My Secret Place. It was How Do You Stop? That's the one where she's just in the white room.
Oh yeah, with Seal. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Secret Place, isn't she walking around with a blanket from the chalk mark cover, like on the beach in grainy black and white?
Yeah, that's a much nicer video.
All right. Well, yes, go ahead, Robin.
No, on My Secret Place, Peter Gabriel's in it too, isn't he? Is in the video.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
That was fun.
That was fun. It's been quite a few months, but it sounds like this was a highlight for everyone who attended, and it was a highlight for me to listen. And I wish I would have been with you guys.
Thank you all. Thank you for sharing. It makes me sad.
I know, David. Well, I will see you all.
How long will it take to pay off the credit card, you guys?
Yeah, Sue. How much did you spend? Do we even want to know?
Well, the one ticket that I got where I was sitting next to the guy from The Hobbit was $425.
You mean Elijah Wood?
Yeah, she was sitting next to Elijah Wood. Yes.
You know, I met him too. I didn't meet him then. I met him back in 1999. Before Lord of the Rings in Tribeca, New York. I was hungover to hell, and yeah, I was so hungover, and I was just sitting outside this restaurant called Bubby's, and we were both waiting, and I started talking to somebody I thought was just like some young guy, right? And we were like gabbing for 10 minutes or whatever. And then his friends came over and they were like, it's going to take too long. We're just going to go somewhere else. And he was like, all right, well, and we were like, oh, nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And he left. And my friends were like, oh my God, do you know you were just talking to for like 10 minutes? And I was like, no, he was really nice though. I never got his name actually. And they were like, that was Elijah Wood. And I was like, oh yeah, now that you say it, it did look like him. And I'm like, oh, he was really nice. So, and then the next year it was like Lord of the Rings and it blew up and I was like, what the hell?
Oh, we could have had a selfie.
Well, we didn't do selfies back then. It was 99.
Well, I have a proposition for everybody. I say we meet once or twice in January 2025 and talk about Archives 4.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, we will figure out a date that works for all of us so we can all be together. Those that weren't with us, we missed you.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Much love to everybody. And thanks to the Patreon and the YouTube, but most of all, thank you to you guys. It's a little bit of a dark world, but not to be cheesy, but you're all shine a light on my world. So finding like-minded people who love music and humanity and life, it couldn't get any better than sharing an evening with you all. So much love to everybody.
Great to see you,
Nice.
Jeremy.
All right.
Bye,
See you all
Jeremy.
soon. Love y'all. Bye.
Back at you.